not quite sure how you can invest in REITs. So let's take you through a hands-on, how can you invest in REITs? And over the next 30 to 45 minutes, we will take your queries, we will answer your queries, we'll have a discussion which helps you understand the nitty-gritty of how you can invest in REITs. Gursimran, I'll start with you. Very quickly, for those who don't understand REITs, what is REITs?
REITs is just like a mutual fund of real estate, to put it very simply.
Okay. REITs is a mutual fund of real estate. Are there managers who manage the funds?
Yes. Just like we have a fund manager to manage, for example, if I take the example of Embassy Group, the Embassy Group is a manager who manages the property on behalf of sponsor, which is Blackstone Group.
Who owns the property?
The sponsor, they owns the property, and the manager is Embassy Group, and we have a trustee who are my representative as a unit holder. So trustee in this case is Axis Bank.
Axis Bank. So earlier we heard that the minimum benchmark was 2 lakhs.
Yes.
It has been reduced to 50,000. So what? Help us understand what does that mean?
So basically, whenever we buy REITs, the units, we can't buy like one share, like in stock market we buy it for 1 share or 2 shares. In REITs, we have to buy in a bunch.
Right.
So 50K is a minimum investment in which how many units you can buy. So 50,000 is a kind of a threshold given by the government.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe to increase the liquidity, I'm hoping the SEBI and the government will reduce the value of that 50K so that more people can come into it.
Number of units can go in decimal also?
Yes. So 50K is the price.
So 50,000 divided by 360 today.
Yes. Yes.
So whatever number of units.
Whatever the market price will be, depending on that, the units can increase or decrease.
So suppose
increase or decrease also.
So for example, 360 is right now is the price.
Yeah.
So if for 50K I'm getting this much amount in 360.
Yeah.
So for example, if market goes down, it goes to 300. Then in 50K, that whatever the unit.
Yeah, number, but when, suppose I have invested today at 360.
Yes.
Now suppose I got say 200 shares, 200 units.
Units, yes.
Now price went up to 400.
Yes.
So then my unit value will be 80,000 rupees.
Right.
Accordingly, no? So I will earn money
Yes.
through that only. No?
So just to give an example, since the time when the REITs got listed in IPO, it got listed at 300 rupees. Right now, it's quoting at 360 just in 2 months. So it's a 20% capital gain for you guys.
But tell me, as per their book value or as per their disclosure,
Yes.
what is the NAV today?
So when they came into the market, they offered the unit price. Their NAV at that time was 300 rupees per unit. But because of the IPO, they put that issue price as 270 to 80, so that 15 to 20% markup on the table. There should be something on the table for the customer also, the people who are investing. So right now, if I calculate right now, the book value, the unit price, and the market price are totally same. So what you're paying, what you're buying, so so the value of the property right now is same as the market price. So you're nothing for the customer or the investor at the table right now. So there is no markup or.
Although those who have invested at 280 can.
Yes.
They are in money today.
So just tell you one thing, it is same as buying your shares. So you need to open a demat account to buy REITs in Indian markets. Just like you buy shares, sell and buy, you can do that with REITs also.
there is only one REIT as of now.
Right. But market is opening up with other players. The big players are also coming up. But the SEBI has a very strong regulation that only the players which have the minimum net worth 500, still the amendments are going on.
Yeah.
Currently, they have a threshold 500 crores or 80% of their this is a very good part. 80% of their money should be invested in the completed properties.
Also rentable, which are rent earning.
Which is rent earning and only commercial properties. Right now, government has no regulation of coming into residential market because right now it's very tough to quantify the residential market and their rental yields. So the government is very clear right now. The REITs will be only for the commercial properties. They have to give the proof that 80% of their money will be in the completed projects. Rest 20% they can put into mortgage securities or into cash for the development or something like that. And 90% of their money should be distributed back to the unit holder, what we call in our financial language, net distributed cash.
And in what frequency does the consumer get the...
So right now, as per the regulation, twice in a year, they have to distribute this dividend money.
So
what is mortgage security, you see?
Mortgage security is basically, in India right now we have a commercial property REITs only, but in US, in UK, there are different kind of REITs. The one is equity, this REITs is called as equity REITs because we are investing in the equity of the real estate. Other REITs is called mortgage REITs in which you get interest based on the mortgage. For example, you have bought a property, you have a loan on that. So my REITs will be to buy that loan from you and get the interest out of you. That is called mortgage REITs.
But that's not happening in India.
That's not happening.
No, but this 20% they can invest in this mortgage.
Yes. So as per the regulation by the government and the REITs regulation, maximum 20% of the money either they can keep into the mortgage REITs, either they can give the loan to the developer, okay, or they can give it to the mortgage as a loan to the developer, or they can put as a cash for waiting for a good opportunity. So 20% they can keep the money in cash or mortgage or anything. But rest 80% of the money has to be into the completed projects.
So mortgage to the developer only or to the individual also?
Only it has to be only real estate mortgage only.
And it has to be to the project or to the developer.
It has to either to a developer you can give or either to a developer. There is no any specific regulation right now, but it has to be either the developer or the company has to be in real estate business, nothing else. And the it will be either SPV based mortgage or a short term loan given to a developer to complete the project, something like that.
So just to deconstruct it for you consumers, if you put your money into a REIT, the money is used to either lend to a developer to complete a project, or it is used to buy up a new project which is completed, which is commercial,
Yes.
and which is also leased out,
Yes.
so that there is a rental return coming.
Yes.
Now, out of that money that you've invested, you will get twice a year, you will get your the profits out of that, right?
And there's an interesting part here. I think 90% of the people don't know that. In REITs, if I get, and this is under the income tax 61, which we call the pass-through. REITs is a pass-through entities.
Yeah.
Okay, what is a pass-through entity means? So that if you are a REIT, the rental income for you will be considered as a rental income for the unit holder.
Right.
Interest income for you will be the interest income for me, and accordingly I'll be taxed. But if my money, the REITs have invested in SPV,
Yeah.
that income will be considered as a dividend income for me, and there will not be any taxation to me.
Right.
So we as a advisors and you as a
The
investor need to see whether the REIT who is investing money. So if a REIT invests in the property themselves, not through SPV, it will be considered as a rental income for the REIT.
Right.
And same, it will be taxed to me.
Right.
But if REITs invest that money into the SPV,
Yeah.
which is a special vehicle, any income, any interest will be considered as a dividend for me.
But SPV will pay the tax on the rental.
So here the government has helped us. There is no DDT on distribution of dividends. There is no dividend distribution tax on the REITs right now.
REITs, but on equity, I believe there is.
There is no equity on. That's what government wants to push this product. So there is no DDT on distribution of the
So when the
dividends.
SPV will give the dividend, that will not be taxed.
Yes.
But when the SPV will collect the money for the rental income, that will be taxed.
So no. So
So that will be treated as the income of that SPV.
no. So pass-through entity means there is no double taxation. So what is pass-through entity in
Understand that?
But who's paying the
Where will
tax?
be that paying the? Who
we will pay. So if REITs invest the money themselves, not in SPV, like I'm a REIT embassy group, I buy the property myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I get a rental income of that property, because it's a pass-through entity, it will pass through to me.
Mhm.
So that it will be considered as a rental income of me, and I'll be unit holder will be taxed, not the REITs.
So that means that when the income will come to me
Yes.
as a dividend,
Yes.
then I will
Not as a dividend, as a rental income. So the head will be changed.
So how does
So
a
you are saying
consumer
that-
get, what all heads does a consumer get returns from a REIT? One is rental income.
I can tell you, there are three types of returns which a consumer gets: rental income, interest income, and the dividend.
Okay.
So dividend, I think we are mostly
Yeah.
clear. If the REITs are investing in SPV, that's a dividend for me.
Yeah.
Whether it's a rental income, what it will consider as it will come under the head of dividend for me as a unit holder.
Yeah.
So I will not be taxed.
No, but SPV will collect the income, that will be SPV income.
Yes, but it will be
And
dividend for me.
That income will goes to the REITs only. The REITs, it will not be taxed in the REITs end also.
Yes.
The REITs will distribute the dividend.
Yes.
And that dividend will not be taxed.
Yes,
So this
perfect.
is how it will function?
Yes.
Now, if when the SPV will collect money as the rental income, will it not be taxed?
No, because it's a pass-through entity, na.
No, but who paid the tax? Where is the pass-through?
I'm telling you now, SPV under the taxation, so there's still an amendment going on, or like for example on capital gain. Right now we are not clear. For example, if I sell the property, okay. Right now it's a capital gain tax for the REITs because they have sold the property. But we as the market players, we are requesting the government that capital gain should also be passed through, should not be double taxed.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the capital
Who
gain?
will pay the pass-through? Means one must pay the tax.
I will pay, unit holder.
Unit holder.
Pass-through means unit holder will pay the tax.
But sir, one thing I want to be clear.
Yeah.
That the whatever money that REITs will pay to the investor
As a
that
dividend.
dividend
Will not be
dividend will not be taxed.
Perfect.
Now suppose it is a simple thing that capital gains. Okay.
Yes.
Now the REITs has earned capital gains.
Yes.
And REITs has not paid the tax on that.
They have
You are
to.
saying they have to.
They have to.
They have to pay.
They have to. Capital gain I'm telling you. They have
Then
to.
only. And similarly, when the SPV is earning rental income, and if the rental income, even they will not pay on the rental income any tax, and if they will pass it as rest of the income as dividend to the REITs, the REITs will not also pay the tax, and REITs will pass again further to the as a dividend to the down, and even they will
So
not
who
pay the
pays
tax.
the tax
So
in that
who will
side?
pay the
I
tax
tell you.
actually?
So right now the amendment right now is this, that capital gain I'm already clear that we have to pay the tax. Rental income, there are two heads right now. One is that property bought through trust, one is a property bought through SPV. Okay, so REITs has the option either buying a property through trust, which is like I'm buying it myself, or buying it to SPV. So as per the REITs regulation, 50% of the SPV should be owned by the REITs, which is for example in this case Embassy Group. 50% will be the developer and all that. Right. So the current, as per the current regulation is this, that if I get a rental income from SPV, there are two parts, source income and the output income. Source income is I'm generating a rental income, right? That rental income will convert into the dividend when I'll get as a unit holder. So we are clear on that, the dividend will get taxed. Now the third question is that, Gursimran, if I'm getting a rental income out of the SPV, that has to be taxed.
Or the SPV will pay the tax at least.
SPV will have to pay the tax.
SPV will have to pay the tax.
Currently, as per the current status, they are paying the tax.
They are
SPV is saying. So I tell you, I'll come back to the original question. What is the net distribution income is? It is after excluding your taxes, after excluding your management fees and the cost, the net income which the REITs hold, that has to be distributed. People need to understand, it doesn't mean that if I'm getting 100 rupees as a rent, 10 rupees I'll keep and 90% I will give it back. No. When 100 rupees rental income I'm getting, after the deduction of tax, after the deduction of the manager cost, after the deduction of the depreciation, whatever the remaining income will left, that will be distributed.
Obviously.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
what it is.
Now, Gursimran, if I if I put my money into say a fund like Pyramid, for instance, right, and I invested in REITs. As a help me understand as a consumer, why should I choose a REIT over a mutual fund?
Over
Yeah.
Okay. Companies like so it's first of all in India before REITs, it's not a new concept. We have many real estate funds, which is in the market.
These are private equity funds, right?
These are private equity funds from HDFC, from ICICI, from Pyramid Group, and all that. First, the problem is that it comes under AIF, which is what we call AIF is the concept in which there is a private equity, which we call alternate investment fund.
Right.
AIF. So here the ticket size minimum is 1 crore.
Right.
Okay. Second thing is that one is that. Second, it's a very close-ended group. So there are in mutual fund there are two kind of funds: close-ended funds and the open-ended funds. Open-ended funds you can buy and sell anytime you want. Close-ended like ELS, equity linked savings scheme, you have a lock-in of 3 years.
Yeah.
Here, Pyramid Group and all the Kotak and all these people of the world, first of all, they only cater to HNI because there's a 1 crore is a minimum ticket size. Second, they have a lock-in period of 4 to 5 years, 7 years, and all that. It's not a right product for a retail investor as well. Like in my advisory, when I deal with HNI clients and all that stuff, people they have a different concept altogether. They have the patient capital, which we call in our industry patient capital. They're willing to put the capital for 5 years, 7 years, and it must be 15 to 20% of their overall portfolio. Retail investor doesn't have that luxury because they have to invest on a monthly basis or daily basis, whatever. So coming back to your question, first of all, it's a very close-ended product. Second, the ticket size is very high. And third, from a transparency perspective, they will share your details maybe on a quarterly basis or on annual basis depending on their requirement. So it is not a very transparent product. Here the REITs is public listing. Anything which happens to the company like bad news, you can at that point of time you can take the action.
Okay.
So liquidity perspective from a retail investor, it is a good product. I'm not saying Piramal Guru and all is not a bad product,
Yeah.
but there the clientage is different,
Right.
the risk profile is different. And the
Every
ticket,
quarter they will have to announce their performance.
as per the so REITs is basically it's just like any other stocks. Like stocks do the quarterly results. They have to tell me on a quarterly basis what properties they have bought, what properties they have sold, whether any marquee tenant has moved out, okay, or they are buying something. Like for example, this latest development happened 2 days back that Embassy Group is buying India Bulls properties.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they will ask us to give us more money so that they can buy that. Maybe they have internal cash flow to buy those properties. So they will keep on updating us on a quarterly way. That's like company Hindustan Unilever, they give us quarterly results. They have to tell me on a quarterly basis what they have done, what they have bought, so that me as an informed
And
investor,
how often the dividend will be?
twice in a year.
Twice a year only. Now suppose if they are going to buy some property,
Yes.
can they withhold the dividend also?
So dividend, just like in any other stock, it's not a permanent thing. Okay, dividend is like in a stocks exchange. Sometimes the company is not doing great. They can't give dividends.
The company distribute only 10% of their income as a dividend. Rest they keep.
We call it as a dividend yield. So average dividend yield of a Bombay Stock Exchange or a Nifty Stock Exchange is 2 to 3%.
Yes, yes.
Nothing more than that.
Yeah.
And a REIT?
REITs, they're 7 to 8%. REIT is mostly, if I say, like if I take the example of US market, they have different kind of
So
REITs.
can they withhold it also?
Not right now. I don't think so because their rentals are coming. See, understand. Dividend happens when I earn some profit.
No, you said that they can buy a property with their cash flow. Now the cash flow normally they give out as a dividend every quarter or every half yearly. Now if they will do it, then certainly they will not have a cash flow.
No.
Now if they will want to invest it in some other
Will
property,
that
then they'll have to
impact
withhold
the
it.
dividend that you're
Exactly.
earning?
See, understand one thing. REITs has a very simple concept. They say that, boss, whatever income you're earning, you have to give me 90% of that.
Yeah.
Right? So, coming back to my original statement, which I said, that only 20% of the money they can keep in cash. At any given point of time, 80% of their money should be invested in property.
So if the money is coming in, they have to keep buying.
Yes, they have a regulation by REITs regulation.
But the issue is this, that the interest income or the yield, rental yield, will only be the 5% of the entire capital.
Right.
Half yearly.
Yeah.
Or full yearly at the most 10%. So that the 5% they can keep to give dividend after 6 months. And they should. Otherwise, now why I'm asking you this question, sir, because suppose I have invested in REITs.
Mm.
Normally I will do, suppose I'm a retired man.
Yeah.
So I would like to have my regular income.
Yes, of course.
So I will not ask them to buy a property with that income. I said,
So
"Boss,
what's
give me
an
money back."
answer? It's a good question
Right.
to ask.
Mm.
If you're putting your money into REITs for regular returns twice a year, how does the law ensure that I do get good returns every 6 months?
So law from a regulation is very simple on this. They have a very simple guidelines on this. First of all, it is not REITs is not a product in which you keep on buying selling properties for the capital gain.
Yeah.
Capital gain is not a criteria for a REITs.
Yeah.
By international laws also and by Indian laws also. It is not a capital gain product. It's a rental yield product. There's a difference. Okay. So in a rental yield product, regulation is very clear that you can only keep 20% of your money. Like if 100 rupees is my total net worth, right? 80 rupees is in my real estate fund. So I'll understand. I have understand your question. You said that Gursimran, 80 when I started with REITs, 80 rupees of my money was into real estate, and for 80 with 10%, 8 rupees I was getting as a
Whole year.
whole year as well getting. I was fine. But my manager got little adventurous. He sold out of 80 rupees, he sold 2 properties worth 10 rupees. Okay, and he got some capital gain, and the money is into cash now. I'm getting. I'm not paying him to give me an interest income. That money I can earn from FD also.
Yeah.
I am paying him the income to generate rental. So the regulation is very clear on that front, sir. That more than 20% of in the 100, more than 20 rupees, you cannot keep as a cash or as a investment or a capital gain. 80 rupees has to be invested at any given point of time into property. If you are
Rent yielding property.
rent yielding property,
And that also commercial.
that also commercial. So you cannot move above 20 rupees. That's a government regulation.
Okay.
Very clear on that. Government.
Good Simran, we've got a lot of queries coming in, so I thought we'll take some of the queries, right? There is Amit Kumar of Delhi. Nitin Kumbani says, hi. Nitin, if you have a query, please ask your query. Gursimran will answer your queries. There is Amit Kumar of Delhi who says, what exactly is a REIT and how does it fit in the Indian investment scenario? Maybe that is how much of my, let's assume more REITs do come in, how much of my portfolio should be in REITs?
See, this is what we do on a daily basis as a SAP RIs, because we design portfolios based keeping your risk profile in perspective.
Yeah.
If you have a conservative risk profile, we say that okay, put 40 to 50% of your money in equity. If you are aggressive, we tell them to put 70%. Now what REIT has done is that initially what used to happen was that we used to tell them that when equity markets are going, you are very well aware of this, when equity market goes down, gold prices goes up. That's a very old concept. So we tell people who are like, okay, fine, move the money from equity to gold. Now, in US markets, I was looking at the data, for past 30 years, the REITs and the US Dow Jones, they have gone like this. Okay, it has outperformed the Dow Jones by at least 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever the Dow Jones goes down, the REITs goes up. Okay, so if I say from a asset allocation perspective, you can keep at least 10 to 15% of your money into REITs and gold, and rest 20%, 80% into equity. It depends. It case to case basis.
Right.
If you want more of a income oriented products, then REITs you can increase the scope more towards the REITs. But if you want a more of a capital gain thing, there also REITs, as I told you, in last 3 months, it's more of a 20% it has gained. But still, I will not recommend going like that, because everyone cannot punt on the market.
Right.
No, Gursimran, but here I have one point to
Yeah.
say. Now, capital gains basically is to encash the appreciation.
Of course.
No. Now, in the REITs, every quarterly or every half yearly, they'll have to declare the new value of the property,
Right.
and which will be right back into their NAV.
Right.
So now, suppose after 5 years, if one has bought a property for 100 crore. After 5 years, that property worth is 200 crore.
Right.
So that will reflect in their NAV.
Of course.
And if that buyer wants to encash that in the capital appreciation, that means the capital gains, he can sell the units and can gain the capital gains. That's how normally the regular income in the equity market function. That
Yeah.
people used to sell a portion of their equity,
Yes.
and still the corpus keeps on growing.
Right.
And by through that they meet their
Agree.
regular income.
Right.
So REITs is also very good for that purpose, that at least the capital gains in the Indian market particularly,
Totally agree
the
with you.
capital gains is very, very important factor.
Yeah.
This
Not only
thing
the-
will work very much better if that 50K ticket size get reduced to maybe 5 or something like that. Right now the chunk size is very high.
Yeah, and at the
For the
same
average
time,
retail
in India,
investor.
basically, if you want to take advantage of the real estate market, then you must have a ticket size of 1 crore rupees or 50 lakh of rupees. Then only you can take advantage. But
Yeah.
with REITs, even with the 50,000 rupees,
Yes.
you can enjoy
Yes.
investing
Yes.
in the real estate market. So this
And
is the
remember
positive.
that
Yes.
actually, the thing is that if you buy a property, you have to manage it yourself.
Yeah.
You have to ensure that it is well leased out. You have to take care of its maintenance. Here, you get the benefits of a rising real estate market
Right.
without having to actually handle the piece of real estate. That is where REITs helps you. I'll ask you one question here. The NAV is declared on a daily basis?
Okay, so there are two things. NAV and the market price of a unit is a totally different concept.
Okay.
NAV is something which is declared by the company.
Right.
Okay. So I, as a basic group, I tell the value of my assets are 100 rupees.
Right.
Okay, that is my. The same thing can be said as in stock market. This is the book value of my share.
Yeah.
Now, what is the market price? Market price is what I'm willing to give to that, like for example, Nestle.
Yeah.
Nestle book value is around 2,000 or 3,000. Whatever.
Yeah.
Their profit, their price to earning ratio is 45 times.
Okay.
So market is willing to give 45 times more of this earning of Nestle
Right.
because he knows, he or she knows it's a stable income, dividend yields are good, market share will not go down, something like that. So NAV is something which is declared by me.
Mm-hmm.
Market price is something which market people who are into markets like mutual funds, retail investors, they want to say that how much I'm willing to give that.
Right.
So it always depends on market sentiments.
Right.
Okay, NAV, it can happen like this that NAV is 100 rupees, but the market price is 300 rupees.
Right.
Or it can happen that NAV NAV is 300 rupees,
Yeah.
market price is 100 rupees.
Right, right. So now, how real estate values don't go up, right?
Yes.
On
Very
a
often.
on
On a regular.
on a regular basis.
Mm.
However, I can see that the graph of the pricing keeps moving.
Yes.
How does the graph keep moving?
So you mean to say the market price?
The market price.
Okay. See, market price is based. First of all, there is no historical data right now to capture it because only 3 months the REITs has been listed in the market.
Yeah.
So as a market participant, I cannot tell you that how it will fare with NSE or because it's hardly 3 months of data, which is nothing.
It's too new.
It's too new. But coming from a fundamental perspective, market price is always based on what the market is willing to give to that property or to get to that share. There are certain companies in like ITC is going at 10 times or 15 times, FMCG. But same in that group, Nestle is going at 45, 50 times.
Yeah.
It depends on how much I'm willing to pay to that thing. It always depends on the buy. It's simple concept of buy, supply and demand.
So who are the large holders of the?
Here, one thing is going to happen, I believe,
Mhm.
that every 6 months, company is going to ascertain the value of its asset
Yes.
on the base of the market information through valuer like them.
Yeah.
Now they will say that okay, this property was valued now last month say for 1 crore 25 lakhs, but now after 6 months this valuation has gone up to 1 crore 30 lakhs.
Mm.
So in their book they will write 1 crore 30 lakh and their NAV will be calculated on the basis of their new valuation of 1 crore 30 lakh.
Mm.
So slowly their NAV also will keep on increasing. So after 5 years, suppose their valuation today is 270 rupees, their value, unit value,
Yeah.
means NAV. Now after 5 years, even if the same asset, even if they are not investing anything new, the same asset after 5 years could be 500 rupees, could be 700 rupees, could be 100 rupees also.
Yes.
If the market goes down, could
Yes.
be 100 rupees also. So it all and it should reflect. What I mean to say is that it should reflect and it will reflect in their NAV also.
So that is the NAV.
That is
Then
NAV.
now suppose globally the oil markets change and sentiment goes up. Then will the market values rise because the sentiments have gone?
I'll give you a very close example. Like for example, interest rates.
Yeah.
Okay, it has a two-way impact on REITs. If our interest rates goes down, the cost of capital goes down.
Yes.
If the cost of capital goes down, it means that builder EBITDA, for example, their value, they can have a low cost of capital to buy more properties.
Yes.
Internationally, the metric which markets say that how well the REIT is performing is the yield of a REITs with the PRR rate or the interest income.
Yeah.
So wider it is, the more better is for REITs.
Okay.
So for example, if I'm trading on REITs, for example, if I say the RBI have declared that interest is going by 50 basis points, you will see the rush in the REITs value just in a day
Okay.
because the cost of capital has gone down. Because of the cost of capital going down, the PLR has gone down.
Yes.
Because of that, the interest income of the FDs will go down, but it will not have an interest income of the REITs. I mean the rental income. So that it will be wider.
Yeah.
So that's the reason my income, if I'm a retiree, my income will be safe because my rental income.
As
is
the
up.
interest falls, no, the
Yeah.
value of the property goes up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the capital value of your that NAV will go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your regular income might not go up because rental
Yeah.
might not change with that,
Yeah.
but the capital value immediately will go up. So your NAV will reflect that.
Your rental income will also not get impacted. For example, if I'm an FD earner,
Mm.
if our interest rates goes down every next month or time, for example, debt mutual funds, liquid
Yeah,
mutual
yeah,
fund,
yeah.
the value, my interest income value will go down.
Yeah.
But in REITs, it will be safe.
Yes.
So that's a very good parameter to see.
So do you call REITs a safe investment?
See, safe is a very subjective term.
Right.
All right, it depends on many factors.
Right.
So, for example, in REITs also there are a lot of stuff. For example, how well my manager is doing, my fund manager. So, coming back to my previous example, if my fund manager is getting very adventurous, like for example, let's take the example of Messi Group. 42% of my market value, 42% of my rental income comes only from one property.
Yes.
In Bangalore.
Yeah.
So if I as a market participant say it has a location risk, my 42% of assets is in one market, one location, one property.
Yeah.
So as a market participant will say it's risky.
Yeah.
Because all my eggs mostly is into one basket.
Yeah.
That is one part. Second is the operational part. We forget one thing, that REITs at the end of the day is a business. If I'm taking money from you, I need to manage those property. I need to attract the tenants. It has to be into the right locations. I need to have the foresight for that. Plus, I need to manage the property.
Right.
So if I'm very efficient in managing all that, I'll give you more rental income to you guys. So 90% is a very broad-ended thing. 90%. But what is 90%? If you're REIT number 1, you earn 100 rupees. Okay. After deducting the taxes and everything, you take 90 rupees, you give it to me. Same, my case, REIT number 2. After I earn 100 rupees, but taxes, cost, I'm able to manage it. 70% I earn. So 70% I'm giving. So 70 is 90% in my case.
Right.
In your case, 90 rupees is 90%.
But
How
how
efficient
does-
is an operation is?
How does a consumer know that?
No, one thing I'll tell you here, simple thing, that investment in real estate considered to be very safe.
Yes.
Because here you have the feel good.
The asset is
with you,
there.
asset
Tangible.
with you,
It's tangible.
asset is with you. Now, if your asset manager
Yeah.
REITs
Yeah.
is good,
Yeah.
if you have confidence in
Yes,
that,
yes.
then it's a very safe investment.
Yes.
Because in Indian market particularly, the rental yields doesn't go wild or doesn't fall like that.
Right, right.
In the commercial property. So you can take it safely.
It's in a range.
It's in a range. And you know that you are only the part of this property.
Yes.
And this property is there. Unless there is an earthquake,
Yeah.
I mean, God forbid, if something like that happens.
That's
That's the huge risk.
Yes.
That's the huge risk for this. But otherwise, it's a very, very safe bet that, okay, your property price will go up with this kind of a thing, slowly 10%, 7% per annum kind of a thing. And only difference, that is also positive aspect, that some of the property which you cannot think of entering even, and still you can own a part of
Yes,
it.
yes.
So that is what the REITs gives you, that handle.
That you may not have money enough to buy into an embassy property,
Yeah.
but you can buy into an embassy REIT which owns the embassy properties.
You get a marquee name like Amazon Group and all that. You are getting a show rent. For example, let's take an example. A normal person who wants to invest in commercial market today, it needs to have a minimum ticket size of 2 to 3 crores to get a good.
Yeah.
Plus, they have to deal with vacancy risk.
Yes.
Plus, they have to manage it themselves. Plus, they have a risk that all that 2 crores is into one location, one kind of property. That.
And you have to manage.
And you have to manage it. What REIT does is that if agreed to sir, if the fund manager is good, or in this case the manager is good, my some part of my property is in Bangalore, some is in Pune, some is in Delhi.
The location
Yeah,
risk is
Location risk is taken
mitigated.
care
Good
of.
point, yeah.
Location risk is taken care of. Plus, I have some industries from IT who's giving me rent. Some industries from steel industries giving me rent. So, industry perspective also is justified. I'm not dependent only on one industry.
Right.
Plus, I have a manager whose full-time job is to manage my property.
Right. And remember that when you own a property, it is you are not an expert.
Yes.
Here, experts are looking after the
Yes.
property. I just want to tell all of you who are logged in that we are running a poll right now. Do you want to invest in REITs or any other product? REITs, mutual funds, fixed deposit. Please do take a poll. At the end of the show, we will tell you what the results have been. I think there are a very large number of queries now piling up. Rakesh Singh of Mumbai says, what kind of returns are available in REITs?
Okay. If I look only from a annual basis, taking the capital gain separately, actually right now the rental yields of Embassy Group is around 7 to 8% rental yield.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, capital gain concept is a very, I mean, you can either go, 8% high or 8% negative. But if I look at the US markets, which is a very, stable market for past 30, 40 years, The average return in US, UK market or something like that is comes to around 14-15%.
14-15%.
14-15% with rental yields and capital gain included.
Where the interest cost is only 4-5%.
Yes.
So that is 3 times of the interest cost.
Yes.
So in India, if the interest is 8%, it should be to match that 24%.
No, not that way.
I don't think.
See, understand one thing, US market, this is a very important point you have raised. See, understand, I'm taking it as an overall market. In US market, we have a REITs for warehouses only. We have a REITs only for hospital properties. We have REITs only for Las Vegas entertainment properties. And we have an ETF who combines all the REITs into one bucket, and then we have an ETF for that also.
It's that deep market.
It's that deep market. So 14-15% is like an average. It can go haywire. It can be negative in some cases. Like for example, hospital properties are not generating that much of revenue in US. They have a REIT, for example, specific location. Like we have a REIT for Tokyo CBD district. Special REIT only for Tokyo business properties.
Yeah.
So international market is very deep. But the right approach is, as you rightly said, in Indian market, what we are observing that you can safely assume with capital gain on an annual basis and with the rental yield, you can easily get 13-14% in Indian market. That's what we are gunning for the REIT product.
In what time frame?
I mean,
As of now.
As of now only.
Okay.
So we will have a concrete
And he's
answer.
saying that in last 3 months, the BASI REITs have given 20% return.
Yeah, on market, yeah.
So,
Capital gain.
Capital gains. Now
Yeah.
imagine, so now on the annual basis, it is where it is.
But still, I'll
Business
suggest your audience. But still, it's like a advice you can say that don't get so fixated on the capital gain part.
Yeah.
REITs at the end of the day is
It's a
an
rental, yeah.
income oriented asset.
Yeah.
Capital gain is, you can say, is like a cream.
Yeah.
Of that. But the
In some cycles, it may be very high. In some cycles, it may be very low.
Yeah.
But the regular return that comes is what the
Right.
value of the
My advice to the audience is that take REITs as a more of a income producing asset, like a debt product, like you can say a short term corporate debt funds or bonds or something like that.
Right.
Capital gain is, yes, it's a part because it's listed on the stock market.
Yeah.
But don't fixate it on the capital gain part. Don't try to be a trader that buying and selling it. So because it will be a counterproductive for the REITs as a product.
Sure. There is Vijay Sharma of Pune who says, what are the investment guidelines for REITs in India?
So as I said, the guidelines are pretty clear from REITs perspective that 80% of your money should be only into completed projects, and 90% of the net distribute income REITs has to give you on a twice in a year. That's a simple guideline.
So these are the guidelines that you have. Anybody can buy into REITs if you have a demat
account. So REITs is just like buying a share. You can open a demat account. Just like you buy shares, you can buy REITs. As simple as that. For example, if someone has a demat account right now and has a 50,000, he can buy REITs just in 2 minutes.
There is Rohit Shetty of Navi Mumbai who says, what is the most pivotal parameter to evaluate the performance of the REIT?
Very good question.
Yes.
See, there are 2 angles here. One, from a taxation perspective. One, for how well the manager is running the property. So the taxation, as I told you, the more REITs invest in SPV, that will be considered as a dividend income for me.
Right.
But if REITs are investing the property themselves, so it will be considered as an income for me also. So it will be taxation perspective is not be good for me.
Yeah.
Second, you have your SEBI advisors, you have RERA people who are looking into the market. The best way to evaluate is what is my net distribute cash the manager is churning on a quarterly basis. How well he is squeezing my assets.
Right.
Third can be what is my what is the vacancy risk, like how well my property is covered, like what is how
well tenanted is
well tenanted it is.
Yeah.
So it has to be, so industry standard says it has to be minimum 85 to 90%.
85 to 90%
That's a
tenancy. And that's why the REITs are so careful about what properties you can pick up. Deepak, we will show a study by JLL shows that right now most of the properties that REITs are picking up are office properties.
As per the regulation, right now you can only invest in commercial properties, no residential.
And in commercial, only office properties.
Only office properties.
So let's look at the breakup of office properties across the country. Are you showing it, Deepak? It says that Bengaluru has 33% readable space in million square feet. There is Mumbai, which is at 17%. Delhi NCR is at 14%. Chennai is at 13%. Hyderabad, Pune at 11% each, and Kolkata at 1%.
Just 1%.
1%.
Just 1%. It's a metro city of India.
Yes, but however, that actually reflects how the business in that city goes. And if the business, for instance, the Amazons, the British Airways, the British Gas, the Coke, Pepsi, all the multinationals, they look for A-grade premium office space. And when you have A-grade premium office space, you need, you get, those are readable.
There's a reason behind this, I tell you. Why Bangalore is number one in that. Right now, if I scan the market for REITs, majority of the office space is taken by IT industry.
Yes.
Okay, and Bangalore is it's a city where huge number of IT players are there because the rentals are much more stable, and the money which you're generating from your unit holder, you need big office spaces. That only, like for example, TCS has 8 lakh employees.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, sorry, 4 lakh employees. Sorry. TCS 4 lakh. It's like after railways, TCS is the second player which comes into. So if you want to cater to huge population like this, REITs is a perfect product for IT industry. That's because the IT industry, the Bangalore market is it's growing up like anything. But this is not a future. I can see like that day if we were having show student housing.
Yeah.
Is another market which I'm very hopeful that we can get reached into student housing, co-working spaces. We can get reached into that. This is the 2 other segments which I'm very sure that REITs is a very beautiful product for these to cater to these 2 segments.
But for this, there has to be change in guidelines?
No. Guidelines is simple. See, understand.
They are both commercial products.
They are both
The
commercial.
problem in those markets is basically that rental is still not stabilized
Right.
in both, in the co-working space also and the student housing also. Once that happens, then the REIT.
You are so right because that is the reason we government is not very keen to get into residential REITs
Right.
because there is no set metric for getting a rental income.
What can, like in commercial paper, in the commercial space, it's thumb rule that the monthly rental capital value is 100 times of that. That is the normal.
Right.
So if suppose NPV, so net value of asset value of in unit is 300 rupees. So that means that thing 3 rupees that unit must earn as the
Right.
rental.
Right.
Yes.
So the annually they should earn something amount 30 rupees
Sure.
annually.
Yeah.
So 15 rupees that. Now if it is not giving that much, that means there is some problem in the management or something. So you can measure that. But in other market, there is no such thumb rule. There is no way you can measure it.
Because they're too new. As asset categories are very
So
new.
coming back to the question of the audience, how I should compare it. So for example, when I do a research for the stock portfolio, I can say, okay, for example, in a steel industry, whether Tata Steel is doing great or the other industry, I can have the comparison.
Right.
Right now, we don't have any comparison right now. So sir is very right on that. When we have more groups like DLM maybe or RMZ coming, I can see for example in Bangalore market how well that RMZ is working,
Yeah.
how well the Blackstone is working,
Right.
how efficient they are.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
can have the comparison.
Absolutely. There's one more query very similar. There's Anil Kumar of Noida who asks, how does a company qualify as a REIT?
Okay. So first of all, I think it's a huge book on that. There are like many eligibility criteria for that. But the key ones are that it has to be into real estate industry. I think for 7 years, 10 years. I'm not sure on that, but it has to be a real estate player.
Yeah.
Okay, 5+ years as a real estate with a minimum net worth of 500 to 1,000 crores. That's a minimum criteria.
500 crores, I believe.
500 crores. 500 crores, and their asset, their holdings into that. It has to be 80% into the completed projects. Okay,
And with lease.
and with leases.
Right.
That is the criteria set by they have to show this to the regulator, then only regulator will give you the green signal. So very transparent.
Very transparent. Brijesh Kumar of Greater Noida asked, what types of properties do REITs own and manage? We just told you that in India there is you can only have REITs in commercial properties, and that also which office properties which yield rental income. At 80% of it has to be yielding rental income. Deepak Singh says, how will we know that we are being given the correct returns?
Okay, that's the coming back to my that statement. Correct returns is always done when a comparison happens. Right now, we don't have a comparable product in the market. Okay, I can't compare REITs to the maybe, for example, if I own an office building in Bangalore, I cannot compare that with REITs because REITs is for the embassy group is much more diversified and all that. It's not a right comparison. I can only compare REITs with the REITs. Okay, so but coming back to what he can do is that on an annual basis, he can say what is the rental yield I have got. Like if 1 year will be completed for the REITs, then I'll see that in 1 year how much the dividend they have given me.
Right.
So if they were committing me in an IPO in draft that they will give me 8%, whether it's 8% or not.
Right.
If it is not 8%, why it is not? Right. If they have given more than 8%, then again why? How they can do that?
Yeah.
So then those kind of questions we can validate.
And you should be reading the quarterly results.
Yes,
because they are declaring the quarterly results. Yes. And remember that it is being regulated by SEBI. So SEBI is also keeping a watch on
SEBI, REITs regulation, all the regulators are there.
So it's a well-regulated industry, so you shouldn't be so worried whether they can cheat you out of your dividends. We don't think that is where the market is headed. There's Nitin Rajput who says REITs or mutual funds, which is better? I think we discussed this, whether it is REITs.
It is not versus REITs versus mutual fund. Both need to be part of your portfolio.
In what proportion?
So it depends on case-to-case basis. For example, if it's a retiree, okay, a person, for them, income is more important criteria for their portfolio.
Yeah.
So it has to be more with the bonds, with FDs, with REITs.
I have one question there.
Yeah.
The REIT particularly, where do you put it? In equity or debt?
Very good question. Very good question. Actually, REITs, as I told you, there are three kinds of REITs basically: equity REITs, mortgage REITs, and a hybrid REITs. Hybrid REIT is basically invest in equity and the mortgage securities, the loans which we were discussing that time. The REITs is a real estate product at the end of the day. Okay, it's a real estate investment trust.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So equity, you cannot say, if you say that if I'm punting in 2 months, it will be treated as an equity share only. But if I'm getting a rental yield out of it on an annual basis, it will be more of a bond or a debt product. So it's a hybrid product if I put it that way. Because it can give me a capital.
Equity valuation is depending on the performance of the company.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Now a company can generate a return on the basis of their capital invested 30%.
Right. Yeah, they return on investments.
Yeah, and on the
EBITDA.
basis you can value it.
Yes.
So why I'm asking you this question, because the normal property managers, they say that the investment in equity is directly or inversely proportional to your age.
Yes.
You are the more.
Yes, you're right.
So, if you are 30 years old,
yes,
then you can put 70%.
You're right. Yes.
40 then 60, 50 then 50.
Yes.
And they say that after 60, if you have enough money, keep 40% in equity, rest in the debt.
Yeah.
Why debt? Because debt gives you a permanent income.
Yes.
Permanent income.
Yes.
Like monthly income they will give you.
Yes.
So in that way, if you treat, and the REIT also you treat as your monthly income kind of a regular income thing, then you include it in the debt and invest accordingly.
I
At the same time, it is property.
I will at this point say that consumers, we have overshot our time limit. There's a lot of queries that are coming in. Considering the kind of interest that you're showing in this, we would actually request Gursimran to come back to us once more, and we will continue this conversation into our next This Week in Property. But as of now, there are many of your queries. Do join us again in the coming week. That we and keep your questions flowing into the. If you keep writing into us, editor@magicbricks.com. You can come to our Facebook and keep continuing to post your queries. These queries will be answered by our expert in the next show as well, because we are completely out of time. And I'm sorry I have to interrupt you,
No problem.
but let me tell you what the results of our poll has been.
Facebook, just 2 minutes.
The thing is, it's a new product.
Yeah,
It's
it
something that you need to get your head around.
Yes.
And it's something that you don't know who's going to advise you on this, whether you should buy it, not buy it,
That is
is
key.
it safe?
That is key.
Well, this is a very interesting result. Do you want to invest in REITs or any other product? 50% say REITs, 50% say mutual funds. Except that we have only one REIT in the country today.
Yes.
We expect that this market is going to grow,
Yes.
and there are a lot of other funds which are preparing for
They're
REITs.
preparing for it.
But the threshold that they've kept, that you 80% of your properties, your money has to be with
Completed.
projects
Rent
which are rent yielding, and that is where a lot of potential yields are getting their REITs ready. This is a growing market. This is the first REIT. The fact that it is actually very successful.
It's very successful.
Has given a lot of hope to a lot of other REITs. We will be picking up your queries. We will be continuing this conversation 1 week from now. Thank you for watching This Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Kurup, this is Prabhakar Sinha, and I have Gursimran Singh with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.